I imagine that Tony Khan was sitting backstage with Okada and Omega and basically said, you know, you guys had such tremendous chemistry inside the New Japan Wrestling ring. You guys absolutely set the standard, raised the bar at Dominion 2018, that great 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit match, where Kenny Omega was finally able to slay the Rainmaker and win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, one of my personal favorite matches of the last decade. Really, truly a tremendous emotional ride. But Tony Khan now has both men under his employment. Has had Omega since the very beginning. Omega has battled through injuries such as diverticulitis, where thankfully he was able to come back. And since Okada's there, and when he's not saying the word bitch, he is wearing oversized suits and also sitting backstage and collecting Tony Khan's paycheck. But now maybe he will earn that when he faces off against one of his greatest rivals. And I do imagine that Tony Khan probably wanted to heat things up and said, well, you know, Kenny, here's the thing. We really want to, make this as personal as possible. And Okada, what you're going to do is you're going to hit him with a police baton. And then you are going to hit an elbow drop while Kenny's on a stretcher. And Kenny, you're not going to get any ordinary color. You're going to get so much color, it's going to look like your guts exploded, like you were David Von Erich in that Japanese hotel room in February of '84. So nevertheless, it is going to look so goddamn violent. But Kenny, you're going to need some help. So we need you to basically take some of this. Well, golly gee, Tony, I can't swallow that. Well, good news, Kenny. It's a suppository. And then later, Kenny was able to basically get that color. And how else was he able to get it? Well, by eating the purple berries. How are they, Kenny? Good? They taste like burning. Bang! I'm John Renton with my review of AEW Dynamite / AEW Collison Summer Blockbuster 2025. They were in Portland. They've never drawn that well in Portland. They need to find more mid-sized arenas to run. And it's hard to find that in populated areas in Oregon. That being said, I will say that the crowd did the best they could. They certainly had energy, at least for some of the show. And it's another 4-hour tour. I'm about 4 hours from Portland, and no, I didn't go. You know why I didn't go? 1, work is more important. 2, I'm not going to the Kent shows that are like 90 minutes to 2 hours for me, depending on traffic. So why am I going to go to a show that's twice the distance? Twice going for speed. I'm all alone, reviewing wrestling for free. I don't really have any way to wrap up the lyrics here. So, talents arrive such as Luther with a little bike bell, and Daniels is walking with Hangman, and I guess the mindset is, well, yeah, I forgive you for putting me in a neck brace and retiring me and everything, and that's fine, don't worry about it. Just get some people to help you, because the Death Riders are going to take you out, and whatever, I don't know. Hey, whatever. I'm glad Daniels was able to retire on his own terms. I just hope he can have a great quality of life and still contribute. So, Hangman is walking, and then suddenly Moxley is just disguised, looking like he's taking a leak in a corner in the building. It is Portland. It is really, really hard to tell the difference. And the Goon Squad is following him. Oh boy. The Death Riders were all over this show. So, Ospreay and Swerve make their entrances, and the best match on the goddamn show was the first. Swerve and Ospreay 2, Electric Swervaloo, Electric Flipaloo, Electric Ossaloo, however you want to go about it. Actually, they started slow with really more psychologically damaging stuff and more, well, I guess psychologically damaging, I guess, would be kind of, a bit of a odd term, but it's more like methadactyl. It was more just like Swerve was taking down Ospreay. We did get the handshake into, various, or a couple side headlocks. Ospreay was bleeding from the nose, and I believe the mouth, but I believe the nose. Hopefully he's okay. We got a bitch smack, and Swerve is more heelish here. I mean, even though they were chained Swerve's house, he was more heelish here. And they started slow for a bit. We got arm and rib targeting. They get a Sasuke special. That went to break. That was about 15 minutes in. We did get a buckle, we did get a buckle, or not a buckle blade, but a blade dive, which was really, really nice. That was very, very well done. lots of, lots of back and forth here. Ospreay wasn't able to gain a clear advantage, though. That was the big thing. His arm was really targeted. Swerve did hurt his knee at one point trying to do his little flippy dive outside. But Swerve's knee, while bothering him, yeah, it added a little bit where it's like, okay, he's not at 100%, but Ospreay's a whole lot worse off. More arm focus. Every time Ospreay hit a big move, he wasn't able to get the advantage. And a dead eye by Swerve. Oh boy, gee, I wonder if that means him and Hangman are going to team up against the Bucks. Probably. For now, it'll probably be Swerve and Ospreay against the Bucks, is my guess. But we did get a hidden blade for 2. A 1-2 sort of. Had a house call, a stomp. And then Ospreay did manage to hit the blade, the Stormbreaker, 1-2. And then there was a Gringo Killer. I know that that's what it was called when Homicide did it. And that's what I'm going to call it. But then this, I know what they were trying to go for, but the drama of how it went to the draw did not work. Because Ospreay was on the apron after basically getting hit with a big move. Swerve was going to stomp him on the apron, but then the bell, rang. And there was no drama. There was no, in the ring, Swerve hit the stomper. Swerve hit the goddamn big pressure. 1, 2, ding, ding, ding. None of that. Also, do the 5-minute call thing. Gary Michael Capad did a great job. Do that. Even if Smiley Roberts can't count that high, just do it with somebody. They needed to do that. There were elements in this match I really liked. It's just the finish was so flat. I don't mind a draw, but it just, no drama there at the end. And there were major boos, because they didn't do time limit call, in my personal opinion. We are the best because AEW's were the best wrestling. You got to get that in. Yeah, where the big boys play with each other, as Steve Austin once said about Nitro. But we finish matches. Okay? And then it's going to be sudden death. Then the Death Rider show. Speaking of death. And the Bucks have cuffs. And they're going to kick Swerve with the tax sneakers. And then Ospreay takes the bullet for Swerve. And the Bucks, instead of kicking Swerve, are just like, well, we've done our damage. We'll just leave. They just flattened out this show right here. I mean, I'm sorry. The stuff with the Bucks is terrible. The stuff with the Death Riders is terrible. So much of AEW needs a fucking reset. And I mean needs it quick. You can't do as hard of a pivot. You gotta take it. They need to do something. And I fear Hangman is not going to win at All In. If he does, great. But I fear he's not gonna. Because I fear they're still going to hold out for Darby being the one to take down Moxley, which means we're going to go to Wrestle Dream, which means, God forbid, if they try to run that in Washington State. They have not been able to even draw much of anything for the shows in Kent, which are in 10 days, 9 days actually as of now as I'm recording, and just under 2 weeks. And that ShoWare Center tops out at about 6,500 if you jam them in. And I think they're set up for maybe $3,000 for each night. Renee then, by the way, says Okada and Omega will be the first time on U.S. soil. Is what it is. Collison interrupts Okada with an offer that he unfortunately can't refuse, and I'm sorry. The inclusion of Callis in this was so pointless. It just was. Because playing on the history of two guys where everything kind of hit a wall like 2 years ago is a little bit much. So, speaking of a little bit much, Mystico was all over this. He didn't do too much against Blake Christian, but he did beat him. And then the Hurt Syndicate show up. MJF is going full American champion again, has the big old flag. And basically Sin Cara says some heelish stuff to him. And MJF basically says, well, you call yourself Mystico. To me, you're still sloppy Sin Cara. You know, I saw that position in a movie once. I'm just going to say the finish was botched. That much I will say. Always delete your search history. And the Streamers were in the ring, by the way. And Streamer, hell, we damn near killed her. And then Jet Speed and Mascara Dorada show up. because we're having that match next. And I'll say this much, at least they're flowing from one match to the next. I'll give them that much credit. The problem is, there were 4 matches on this show. On a 2-hour Dynamite. They need to cut down some, and I get it, 30-minute time limit. I get that. But this one could have been a little shorter. It was typical. We did get Speedball doing some high kicks and everything. It looked like he almost might have potatoed Lashley at one point. He did take a really nice, beating at one point, so that was at least something. But then we got a botched DDT, and then we got a botched knee confusion spot, and yeah, I missed it by that much. And so we get a hammerlock DDT after MVP targets Speedball with the cane while the referee's distracted. Hammerlock DDT 1, 2, 3, beat down afterwards. Mystico then shows up. He didn't bother to save Dorado from getting his mask taken off, but Mystico will get the spotlight, and he comes in and attacks MJF, and that's basically it right there. So, the Death Riders attack Hangman. When we're going to hear from him, they tape his mouth shut, which I wish somebody would do that to Moxley, because I can't stand watching this and listening to it. Mox talks, I don't care. I do not care. Moxley could go away for a year and I wouldn't miss him. And the ops show up, and basically Hangman said that he vows he's going to basically, walk through death itself to take the title, and he'll take somebody's head tonight, or he'll try to. Meanwhile, Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford took on Anna Jay and Ty Mello, Kunte, and oh boy, this is just what I wanted to see. I don't know why they keep trying with Ford, because she's not good. She's not. I'm not saying that she doesn't have value, but she does not have value as a wrestler. She is never going to get better, layoff or not. She wasn't particularly that good to begin with. There was a double throw by Megan Bayne. And then eventually Ford thought she could get Mello, but then got pinned by Mello and whatever. Can you tell I don't really care a ton about this stuff? Like, it was all downhill after that first match because they ruined it with the aftermath because the Bucks are terrible. This stuff with Bayne and Ford isn't working. Anna Jay, bless her, she's trying. People say, oh, Ty Mello improved. And, there were people I talked to that said she improved. There were other people that were saying that on the timeline. She couldn't have gotten any worse. She had, like, a 2-year layoff with, like, I think a match in Stardom or 2. From what I've gathered from conversations I've had with people, I just don't care. And, her and Sammy, why? Like, why? Why are they still there? So, package on Omega and Okada. New Japan footage. Okada won, then a tie, and then the G1 Day 18 match where Omega did manage to get the victory, and then he managed to beat him at Dominion. Now, that was a great match. It's one of my favorite. Not that any of the other matches are bad, but just that Dominion match in particular captured a whole bunch of lightning in a bottle, essentially. And neither of them, you could argue, have had... I can't necessarily say that they haven't had great matches since, but I don't know if they've been able to equal that. They're not going to be able to equal that at All In, so let's temper our expectations. Shivani brings them out. It's going to be the AEW Unified title, which looks like the old WWF Championship. We get a handshake. Callis shows up, and Omega talks about his tricks. And, bet you didn't see this trick coming. Okada hits him with a belt. Callis has the goddamn baton. I hate to say it, but if Okada had just hidden that under the goddamn sheet, it wouldn't have mattered. We could have gotten to the same place without Callis being involved. And, yeah, he hits him in the goddamn gut, beats him down. We get the stretcher, barely know her. And then we go to Collision, where Callis is doing more stupid shit. Daniels is trying to make something of this situation. And then an elbow strike, or diving elbow onto the stretcher, and then Omega comically coughs up a whole bunch of blood. It is hilarious. I would have thought it would have been like The Substance at that point. But whatever. I will say that they're trying to heat this up as best they can, but putting Collison in it kind of just nerfed my, take on this. Because I do not need to see that walking disease, that walking venereal disease, on my television. Because he's terrible. He's really, really terrible. He's a bad manager. So, Michael Cole. Yeah, no, you know what? Michael Cole would, he probably would pull the rest of his hair out trying to call this. Adam Cole, Bebe, the TNT champion, calls Kyle Fletcher versus Anthony Bowens along with Nigel and Shivani, and it was fine for what it was. Archer kicked Billy in the face and put him into the barricade, and Fletcher won. It wasn't a bad match, but we knew Bowens wasn't going to win. Please give Fletcher the TNT title and let him run with it, and let Cole run elsewhere. Just please. Because I feel uncomfortable watching him even get involved in anything physical. MJF and Mystico, we get that package. Here's Carlos Cabrera, who drones on for a bit and then brings out Atlantis, and Atlantis Jr. is with him. And we get FTR music. Stokely talks, and I zoned out because I'm sorry, he can't reach anything off the third shelf. Why am I going to listen to him? And also, I'm kind of over FTR. I just kind of am. I mean, I like FTR. They're great in the ring. I don't mind them as heels, but this just isn't working. They attack both father and son. Cole tries to stop this. Then the Callis clan. Everybody get in here. Brody King, Bandito. Why don't we just get the horse that Bandito rode in on to be in this? The horse would have been a better worker than half of these guys. And Atlantis targets Dax and beats him up a little bit. Yay. So then Bill, Brian, Queef, and the Workhorsemen are backstage. More tag team nonsense. Nothing against J.D. Drake, and I believe that was Anthony Henry. I'm glad to see he's okay. But I don't care. And unfortunately, I think Chris Jericho might be coming back soon, which realistic, because Fozzie's tour is done. Realistically, if he never comes back and his contract's just done and Khan just lets him go, that's probably for the best. So Mercedes comes out and she has a giant spread. She's spread all out on that table. I'll just let that marinate right there. Tony gets a pop. Sky Blue attacks her, and then Aubrey gets a pop for tossing Sky Blue. It's Tony Storm versus Julia Hart. It certainly was. It was an alright match. Was what it was. Julia's about where she's going to be without more time. Father Time's just going to have to keep on rolling with her. And Tony eventually won with the big package 1, 2, 3. And then, so then we tease a kiss with Mercedes. And her hairpiece was like trying to pull her away like one of the goddamn brain slugs in Futurama. And then Mina saves, and then Mina gets attacked because whatever. Ricochet is looking for people to join his bald crew. Unfortunately, Lee Johnson and Blake Christian were all that were there. So then Willow, Mark Briscoe, and Tomohiro Ishii against the MXM Collection and Taya Valkyrie with Johnny TV in the corner. I'm not sure why, but I'm always glad to see Taya Valkyrie get some television time. It was a match. Ishii could not move. There was some comedy with MXM. And a Froggy Bow, and then the Dr. Bomb. 1, 2, 3. So there you are. Willow got the victory. Folding up Taya. And bless Taya. And I do like Taya. It's just she's always losing. And speaking of always losing, Statlander always seems to be losing. She seems to be losing direction. She seems to be losing the ability to basically get out of any of this bullshit creative because they are teasing her joining the Death Riders. If you have her join the Death Riders, why don't you just give her notice? Like, seriously. Oh, she's friends with Wheeler Yuta. Jesus. God. I'm sure Wheeler's a nice guy, but I'm sorry, as a wrestling character, who'd want to be his friend? So, the Meat Mortos took on Bandito. Mortos looks great, he always loses. He lost here with a convoluted fall-away slam off the top. That looked impressive once it was hit. Took about 12 million years for it to happen. And we're going to have Zeuxis or Zukis, however the hell you say it. Zukis Riot. Throw back a bottle of beer. Zuki Riot. I don't run a comb because I don't have black hair. So yeah, her and Mercedes at Grand Slam Mexico for another championship. Tony, please cause a DQ. Tony Khan could cause a DQ. Tony Schiavone could cause a DQ. Tony Robbins. Have Tony Bennett cause a DQ. I think he's been dead for a bit, but whatever. All right, Hangman, the Bucks are talking. Yay, good. I'm sure it was riveting for those of you that care about the Elite. I don't. And Tekla. The tech-savvy individual that she is. Now, the Spider Lady took on Queen Aminata. And Tekla's impressive. There was a great camera shot of her doing splits on the ropes, hanging upside down. Aminata has improved. Still seems a little bit awkward, but all right. It was what it was. She then does a weird thing where she brings Tekla's ass into her face. And I know what they were trying to go for. It looked a little bit odd. And then she hit a stomp that looked really deadly. 1-2. And then Tekla eventually won with they call it the death trap. I'm just going to call it the web design because it's funny. And that's it. She won. Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian. There's possible tension. I'm still wondering why they gave Kip promo time. Nothing against him personally, but why? Why is this going on? And I like Nick. Nick wrestled a lot in the Pacific Northwest and is a mainstay and a big inspiration for wrestlers that are starting out, in this area. He's a great talent, and he's going to get better. But then the Callis family took on the Paragon and Garcia. Didn't they do this last week or some variation? Alexander pinned Roderick Strong, I believe. There you go. That's it. That's the coverage I have of this show. I didn't hate it, but just a lot of it just blended together. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rickland. Until we meet again, happy trails to you.